Welcome back to VMware KB. This presentation will take you through the VMware vCenter Converter Standalone 5.0 tool in a nutshell. So let's get started. So using this Standalone Converter 5.0 tool, you can convert your physical host to VMware vSphere 5.0 virtual machine. You can also convert your existing VMware virtual machines to vSphere 5.0 VMs. Let's discuss about the architecture in brief. So it's a client server architecture and it installs the user interface, which is basically the interface to manage the migration process. It also installs a server component which is responsible for importing and exporting the VM, and then it installs an agent which basically takes the snapshot of your source machine and then it works closely with the server component to complete the migration. So as discussed before, in terms of Windows migration, the agent is the component which is responsible for taking a snapshot. It clones the source volume and creates a destination VM, and then the agent is also responsible for starting the copy process, copying the source volume to the destination volume once the clone of the source volume is created. And once the migration is completed, the agent also installs the drivers and personalizes the VM. In terms of Linux migration, there is no software to install on the Linux host. So using a Windows host, you push an agent onto the Linux host. So it uses SSH to connect to the source machine, and when you install the software on the Windows host, in the Windows directory it also creates an ISO image. So the Linux host connects to this particular directory, to the ISO image, and mounts that image on the destination VM to complete the installation. So it uses this VM as a helper VM and SSH to copy the data. As mentioned before, it takes a snapshot, clones the source volume. So it uses two types of cloning: volume based cloning and disk based cloning. So volume based cloning is used when you convert a physical machine to a VMware virtual machine, and disk based cloning when you convert your virtual machine to virtual machines, that is V2Vs. So volume based cloning only supports the basic disk types. They don't support the dynamic disk types. Again, when you invoke volume based cloning, and if you resize your source volumes, that is if you select the size smaller or you select the size bigger than your existing source volumes, then it invokes the file level cloning. And if you don't make any changes to your source volumes, that it invokes the block level cloning. And file level cloning is generally slower than the block level cloning. Disk based cloning used in converting your VMs to VMs, and disk based cloning supports both basic and dynamic disk, and it also preserves your existing volume structure, that is, you're not making any changes to your source volumes. Unsupported source volumes, GPT partitions above 2 terabytes are not supported. Fat partitions are supported only on Win2K3 host and not on Win2K8 host, as Windows 2008 cannot take a snapshot of a fat partition. So workaround would be to convert your fat partitions on Windows 2008 host to NTFS partitions. In case you have a fat partition on a virtual machine which you want to convert, then when you are specifying the destination disk, when you run the tool, there's an option to be selected which is 2 GB files. So make sure you select that option. And if your destination volumes are residing on SMB or NFS shares, again this is in case of V2V, you need to make sure that your option you select is 2 GB disk, not pre-allocated. Once the installation is completed, please make sure that you install VMware tools. This not only installs the enhanced keyboard and graphic adapters but also installs the VMX network drivers. Also make sure that you uninstall your existing network adapters and try to use this latest VMX 3 adapters. OEM licenses are not supported, so please make sure that you get in touch with your OEM vendor to get a license for the new virtual machine. You can only reassign retail and volume licenses to new physical servers. And if you migrate an OEM Windows image, you must have a Windows Server Enterprise or Data Center Edition license to run multiple virtual machines. Space requirements: approximately 450 megabyte for Windows and 100 megabyte for Linux. The tool best viewed in 1024 and 768 resolution. Since it's a client server architecture, it requires the following TCP ports: 443, 445, 902, and if it's a Linux migration, the SSH port 22 UDP 137138. Please make sure in case of Linux host that the firewall is not running and these ports are open on the firewall. The supported source and destination list you can run through the user guide. Again, the user guides are available on the VMware site. There's also an KB article on network adapter, so I'm going to show the sites and I've got it open here. So this particular software can be downloaded from VMware site, and you can see here VMware vCenter Converter Standalone 5.0 download link. Again, it's downloads vmware.com site. The documentation is also available on the VMware site, the user guide, and the KB article. So when you go to the knowledge base, the type of network adapter to choose, so you can see here VLANs, which is an emulated version of AMD, VMXNet, flexible E1000, VMXNet 2, and then VMXNet 3. It also shows you the supported OSs. So make sure that you go through the network adapter list. So that brings an end to this presentation, and thank you for watching this presentation.